According to Judaism, if you read their literature, their history, you read the Talmud in Tractate Sukkah, it talks about if there is a total blood moon, it means judgment is coming upon Israel. If there's a total solar eclipse, judgment is coming upon the nations. Why do they say that? The sun, representing the nations, is bigger than the moon, just like the nations are bigger than Israel. The moon is smaller, represents the nation of Israel. But here we see, during these next 2 years, not only 4 blood moons, but a total solar eclipse, a partial solar eclipse. These are all falling on biblical holidays. So the Talmud records that both solar eclipses and lunar eclipses both speak of judgment for the nations and for Israel. And then to have them fall on the feast days, in the Jewish mind, this is very significant to them. One day I was on the internet and there was this phenomenal total blood moon that was shown over the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. And I was blown away by the beauty of this full total lunar eclipse right over the Dome of the Rock. And so I got to thinking about the Bible, where it plainly says in Isaiah, in Joel, in the Gospels, in Revelations, about there will be signs in the sun and the moon, where the sun would turn to sackcloth and the moon would turn to blood. And so I got to thinking about eclipses. And one of the things that I remembered was the scientific website, NASA, has 5,000 years of eclipses. Several thousand years in the past, thousands of years in the future. And the reason why is because God is very mathematical. He set up everything like his own personal watch, his own time clock. And so I wanted to see if there were any significant solar lunar eclipses over the next 5 or 6 years. I noticed in 2014 and 2015, there were 4 total lunar eclipses in a row. And I was fascinated that there were 4 total lunar eclipses in a row without any penumbral, where it's not a complete lunar eclipse, or any partial lunar eclipses. And my first thought was, well, how often does that happen? Because I love math, I love looking at the odds. So I went back to NASA's website in history, and I noticed there were not 4 blood moons in a row at all in the 1800s, in the 1700s, or in the 1600s. So I thought, wow, this might be something unique. And then I noticed it happened twice in the 1900s. But I went ahead and went back to 2014 and 2015, and I was looking at the dates, and I saw how they were falling like in April, September, October. And I thought that was all pretty interesting. And then I went home and I went to bed. And all of a sudden I woke up about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just felt a real urge to pray. And I go into my prayer closet and I'm praying for about an hour and just thinking about the significance of these 4 total lunar eclipses and the dates of when they occurred. And then all of a sudden, this thought came to my mind: I need to put these on the biblical calendar to see when they fall. And then I saw that they fell on Passover and Tabernacles both years in a row, and it just totally blew my mind. So I went racing back to NASA, and I thought, God is 100% correct. He's never 99% correct. He's 100% correct. And the Bible declared that not only would the moon turn to blood, but the sun would turn to sackcloth. So I immediately went to 2015 to see if there were any total solar eclipses or partial solar eclipses. I noticed that in 2015, on Nisan 1, on the biblical calendar, there was a total solar eclipse. Now, what is incredible about that, Nisan 1 is the very beginning of the religious calendar. In Exodus, God told Moses that I want Nisan 1 to be the beginning of the religious year for you. Nisan 1 is the very day the fire fell from heaven out of the presence of the Lord and lit the ark at the grand opening ceremony of Moses' tabernacle. This is huge. So what do we have? We have a total solar eclipse happening on the first day of the religious calendar in 2015, followed 2 weeks later by a total lunar eclipse on Passover. And then lo and behold, there is a partial solar eclipse on Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, followed exactly 2 weeks later by another total lunar eclipse on Sukkot, which is the blood supermoon. And so it just blew me away to see that all of these solar lunar eclipses, 2014, 2015, were happening on the feast days. I'm telling you, this series of eclipses are truly astronomical to have these events happen, and then also tied to what prophetically the Bible says is going to be happening with Israel.